A perfect summer evening shattered in seconds. In front of horrified onlookers, a spinning ride at the Ohio State Fair broke apart midair, sending riders plunging to the ground. This was no freak accident. It was a disaster waiting to happen. The Fireball was billed as a thrill ride, a pendulum-style attraction that combined speed, height, and spinning forces. But on July 26, 2017, that thrill turned deadly. As the ride reached its apex, a section of the gondola detached, fleeing riders like rag dolls. One 17-year-old, Tyler Jarrell, was killed instantly. 7 others were gravely injured, some left fighting for their lives. Eyewitnesses described the scene as pure chaos, screams, twisted metal, and an eerie silence as the ride ground to a halt. But what went wrong? Initial inspections had cleared the Fireball just hours earlier. State officials had called it safe. Yet, hidden beneath the layers of paint and steel, a deadly crack in the support beam went unnoticed until it was too late. Over the next few minutes, we'll uncover the chilling sequence of events leading up to the tragedy, the preventable moments that caused it, and the aftermath that shook the amusement park industry to its core. Stay with me as we piece together the story of the Fireball's fatal failure. It was opening day at the Ohio State Fair, a summer tradition that drew thousands of visitors eager to enjoy its vibrant atmosphere. The air was thick with the smell of fried food, the sounds of carnival games, and the excited chatter of families and friends. Among the towering Ferris wheel and the flashing lights of midway attractions stood the Fireball, one of the fair's premier rides. At 40 feet tall, the Fireball was no ordinary amusement. It was a pendulum ride that combined swinging arcs with high-speed rotations. Riders would be strapped into a circular seating platform, their feet dangling as the ride hurled them through the air, creating a cocktail of fear and exhilaration. It was marketed as a ride for thrill seekers, promising an experience so intense that it left riders breathless and spectators awestruck. By the early evening, a long line of eager fairgoers had formed, each person waiting for their chance to defy gravity. Among them was 18-year-old Tyler Jarrell, a recent high school graduate brimming with excitement for the future. Tyler had enlisted in the Marine Corps just days earlier, and the fair was his way of celebrating the milestone. Accompanied by his girlfriend and close friends, he boarded the Fireball with a wide grin, ready for the ride of a lifetime. As the clock struck 7:20 p.m., the Fireball began its familiar rhythm, swinging higher and higher, rotating faster and faster. The ride's arm groaned under the strain, but to the crowd below, the spectacle seemed flawless. Fairgoers cheered as the pendulum reached its zenith, the riders' laughter and screams bending with the carnival ambience. Then, in an instant, everything changed. A thunderous crack pierced the air, louder than any sound on the fairgrounds. Eyewitnesses described it as a sharp metallic snap, like a giant piece of machinery tearing itself apart. Gasps rippled through the crowd as they realized something was wrong. The ride's momentum faltered, and then chaos erupted. Without a warning, a major support beam gave way, sending a full row of seats hurtling towards the ground. The detachment was so violent that riders were flung out of their harnesses as if they were weightless. Tyler was thrown nearly 50 feet into the air, landing on the unforgiving pavement with catastrophic force. Others hung helplessly in their seats, suspended at impossible angles, while debris rained down onto the midway. Screams of joy turned into cries of terror. Parents grabbed their children and pulled them away from the ride as bystanders sprinted towards the wreckage, desperate to help. It was like watching a horror movie, one of the witnesses later recalled, their voice trembling. Bodies lay motionless on the ground, while survivors moaned in agony, their injuries too severe to process. Within minutes, paramedics and emergency personnel had arrived, weaving their way through the panicked crowd. But for Tyler, it was already too late. First responders found him unresponsive, his dreams of serving in the Marine cut short in an instant. The once lively fairgrounds fell silent, save for the wailing sirens and the sobs of those who had just witnessed the unthinkable. The investigation began almost immediately. Experts from the Ohio Department of Agriculture, which oversees amusement ride safety, worked alongside KMG and the independent engineers to identify the cause. Initially, there was confusion. Just hours before the incident, the fireball had passed its mandatory inspection. The truth came to light when forensic engineers examined the wreckage. They found a deadly flaw. Years of corrosion had eaten away at a crucial support beam, weakening it to the point of failure. The crack had been hidden beneath layers of paint, making it nearly impossible to detect with a standard visual inspection. The ride's manufacturer, KMG, later revealed that the fireball had been in operation for nearly 2 decades, far longer than its intended design life of 10 years. Adding to the tragedy, the inspection process itself came under fire. Inspectors relied heavily on visual checks rather than more sophisticated methods like ultrasound or X-ray testing, which could have detected the internal corrosion. It wasn't just one failure. It was a cascade of oversights that culminated in disaster. In the days following the tragedy, the Ohio State Fair remained open, but the fireball and similar rides were immediately shut down nationwide. Governor John Kasich called for a full investigation, vowing to hold those responsible accountable. Public outrage grew as more details emerged about the ride's history and the inspection practices that had failed to prevent the disaster. Tyler Jarrell's family, devastated by his loss, became the face of the tragedy. His mother, Amber Duffield, publicly criticized the lack of rigorous safety standards and called for sweeping reforms. In her words, "No one else should have had to suffer what we've gone through." Tyler's Marine Corps recruiter, who had come to see him off that day, spoke of his bright future, a future cut tragically short. For the survivors, the ordeal was far from over. Some were left with life-altering injuries, including fractured bones, internal damage, and severe psychological trauma. One victim, a young woman, required multiple surgery just to regain basic mobility. Lawsuits soon followed, targeting the ride's operator, the manufacturer, and state inspectors, alleging negligence at every level. The fireball tragedy sent shockwaves through the amusement industry. KMG, the ride's manufacturer, issued an urgent global recall of all fireball rides and similar models, advising operators to conduct detailed structural inspections. Many rides were permanently decommissioned. In the US, state regulators faced intense scrutiny. While amusement ride safety laws vary widely across states, the incident exposed a troubling lack of consistency in inspection standards. Critics argued that relying on visual inspections for aging rides was insufficient, especially for equipment subjected to constant stress and wear. Ohio introduced stricter laws in the wake of this disaster, requiring more rigorous inspections and documentation. But for many, it felt like too little, too late. The tragedy raised broader questions about the safety of portable rides at fairs and carnivals, rides that are frequently disassembled, transported, and reassembled, increasing the risk of wear and tear being overlooked. Beyond policy changes, the fireball disaster left an undeniable mark on public perception. Parents began questioning whether they could trust the rides their children eagerly lined up for. Videos of the incident, captured by horrified onlookers, circulated widely on social media, serving as a grim reminder of what could go wrong. My deepest condolences to everyone affected that day, their friends, and their family. It is so unfair to have your life cut short due to the negligence of the park, a park which was supposed to be a fun day out. May they rest in peace.